Italian Cooking, where you see cooking from my point of view. So earlier this week, I had somebody contact me via my Twitter page and say, hey, I'm writing an article about meatballs. Do you have what you consider to be an elevated meatball recipe? And I thought, well, you know, I do the standard meatball, the ground beef and sausage meatball like everybody does, but I do kind of have a meatball that I consider to be elevated. And so I thought, now I want to make this. Now I want to cook it. It's been a while since I made it. The last time I made this meatball recipe, I fried it and then finished it in sauce. Well, this time I thought, okay, I can't just make the same thing. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do a roasted meatball, where we're gonna make, you know, show you what I put in my meatball. Then we are going to bake it in the oven. Gets a nice consistent brown color, and then we're going to just finish it in a real basic sauce. And these are delicious. Let me tell you, these are outstanding. So Josie's joining me today. Actually, we did 2 tastings at the end, so make sure, yeah, Josie makes another appearance at the very end of this video in the we'll call it the second tasting, the special tasting. So I want to get started cooking. So let's take a look at our ingredients. Thank you, boy. We're going to run through the ingredients for our elevated roasted meatballs real quick. Our meats, we're going to use a ½ pound of ground Italian sausage, a ½ pound of ground lamb, and a ½ pound of ground bison. Normally I like to use, in my elevated meatballs, I use a ground veal. This just caught my eye last night. You can really do any 3 meats. I like to stay away from ground beef because then, you know, it doesn't feel like elevated. It feels like eh. The other ingredients in our meatballs: 1 cup of breadcrumbs. I always use seasoned, give it a little more flavor. Salt and pepper. Tablespoon of parsley. 3-4 cloves of garlic. This is a real small garlic, so I'm probably going to use a little bit more. 1 egg. A ½ cup of parm, ground parm. Now, if you have some pecorino, go with a 1/4 cup of ground pecorino and a 1/4 cup of ground parm. I have parm, we're just going to use that. The other ingredient that we're going to go with that'll help bind things together is 3/4 cups of a Chianti. This just adds such a good rich flavor. And we're going to do a roasted meatball. These are going to go in the oven, so we will brush these lightly with olive oil, and that helps them brown up. So I'm going to break away, get some stuff measured out, get my garlic all chopped up, and get my parm ready. Then we'll be back and build these bad boys. It's time to start building these wonderfully tasty meatballs. First thing we're going to do, meat's in the pan. So then on top of that goes our 1 cup of seasoned breadcrumbs. Go ahead and put in our minced garlic, and I like a lot of garlic. I want a super powerful tasting meatball here. And then we have 1 tablespoon of parsley. Now, preferably you would want to use a fresh parsley. I had ground, I had dried, so I just went ahead and used dried. And then this is a generous 1/2 cup of ground Parmesan cheese. So what we're going to do is just kind of, before I add my my 2 liquids, I'm just going to go ahead and just try to mix these up a little bit, just incorporate a few things before I add my 2 liquids. So now I'm going to add some salt and pepper. I don't usually measure my salt, but if I were going to measure, I would probably do a teaspoon of each. And then just try to adjust to your own palate. Some freshly ground pepper. Let's get our 2 liquids in there. 1 egg, slightly beaten, and 3/4 cup of Chianti. This is just going to give this an extra punch. It's going to make for a nice, moist meatball. And I think with the, using the 3 really good types of meat, using the Chianti, using Parmesan, that's definitely kicking us up to elevated meatball status. And I'm going to tell you, I have made these before. The flavor's just incredible. Before I get my hands in here and really get my hands messy, I like to just use a wooden spoon. Just kind of try to at least get the meat broke up a little more. We're to the point now where we just got to get our hands in there. Got to get your hands dirty. Wow, these are really moist. What I want to do is I want to make sure I get all the meat mixed together. All the ingredients kind of evenly distributed throughout the meatball. These are going to be incredibly moist. You can probably hear the moisture in them as I stir them. You can see that chunks of garlic, man, that's just going to kick it up. I am going to break away, make sure my oven is preheating. It is time to take this meat and make it into meatballs. These are a roasted meatball. You've seen in past episodes where I have fried meatballs in a pan, then use that pan to kind of build my sauce. This is a quick way to make a meatball. It gets evenly done, evenly cooked through, and saves you a burner on the stove. So what we're going to do, I want to make sure my meatballs are about the same size. So I just take an ice cream scoop like this, kind of scoop out my meat like so. The thing that's most important about your meatballs is you want them to be all the same size. Don't over roll or over compress these roasted meatballs. Just lightly form them. Plop them down on a piece of parchment paper on your pan and do the next one. And again, I'm using the scoop just to kind of help me to get them the same size. You know, I'm sure this is real exciting, watching me roll these meatballs, making sure I got them all about the same size, but I'm going to save you from this wonderful pain and boredom, because I'm kind of hoping you watch it to the end. So I'm just going to keep going until I get this whole 1.5 pounds of meatballs on my pan. I finished rolling out my meatballs. You can see I pretty much got them evenly distributed. They're about the same size, give or take. I mean, they're close enough to where they're going to bake evenly. So instead of popping these in the oven right now, I'm going to put them in the refrigerator because I'm quite not ready for them yet. You know, I've kind of got my dinner planned out here today for the kids, and I got to get started on my other dish. All right, I'm kind of caught up on everything else that I was making today, so it's time to get our meatballs ready to go in the oven. I got my oven preheating to 400 degrees. We're just going to take a little bit of olive oil and just lightly brush. Let me get my olive oil, bring my olive oil to my meatballs here. We're just going to lightly brush each meatball with just a tiny little bit of olive oil. It's okay if it kind of runs over the side. This is going to allow the meatball to get like a good, nice, pretty golden brown. And we're just going to go ahead and do the rest of these. Then they go in the oven, 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes until they're a wonderful, pretty golden brown all over. As I shared earlier, I'm going to finish these meatballs in a nice, simple sauce. The meatballs are in the oven. It's been 20 minutes since we put our meatballs in, so let's check on them. Oh my gosh, look at those beautiful beasts. I think I'm going to put these back in for probably 3-4 more minutes. I want to get a little bit more brown, kind of a good crust on them. So I had them for 20. We're going to go 3 more minutes. All right, timer just went off on our meatballs again, so let's take a look. Sorry, letting that get out of frame. All right, that has the color that I was looking for. These are beautiful. Now, I'm not just going to throw them back in my sauce. I want to let these bad boys rest for, I'm going to let them rest for 10 minutes. All right, our beautiful elevated meatballs have had time to rest. I actually let them rest for, oh gosh, a little bit more than 10 minutes, but that's okay. So all I'm going to do now is just take these meatballs, drop them in the sauce, let them cook for a minimum of 20 minutes in this sauce. And if you can let them go for a half an hour, they're going to soak up that much more flavor from the sauce, and in return flavor that sauce just a wee bit. So get these in. I've got it on a real low simmer. I'm going to give these just a light stir because I do not want to break these up, but I want to make sure that they get coated. Put them all in here. I want to make sure they get coated by the sauce. Set to the side. Again, real easy, real light stir, not being aggressive, but making sure they all get covered. Give it a little shake there to try to get everything settled down in. Now, we're done. Let them go for 20 minutes. Our meatballs are done. They've been simmering here for, gosh, a good half hour. So I'm gonna get these plated up and we're gonna give them a taste and see how they turned out. I have plated up our meatballs. Again, this is a elevated roasted meatball. You know what elevated means?
High up.
It means fancy. Fancy. This is my son Cruz and his victim Josie, his girlfriend Josie. As you can see, they're Pittsburgh fans. Him because I didn't raise him right, and her because she likes him. So let's give these a shot and see how they taste. This is ground lamb, ground sausage, and ground bison. So you're eating a little bit of buffalo. And it has Parmesan cheese and parsley and garlic.
Holy cow.
Nike! Wow, those are really good, aren't they?
Yeah, that's legit.
It's legit.
Your turn.
Is it too legit to quit?
I promise. You'll like it.
Forget him. You're eating defenseless baby lamb. You know how cute they are, they're defenseless. It's good. And the last of the American bison.
Do I only get 3?
Huh? No, there's a whole thing of them over there.
Oh.
So you're eating the last of the American bison, so now they're extinct. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Cool.
So this is an extra tasting. What happened was when I yelled for Cruz and Josie to come up and try my meatballs. Well, Josie's name is Jocelyn, but my puppy's name is also Josie. And she came running, and she was really jealous, so she wanted to try the meatballs. So I told her I would do an extra special shooting with her, and she's refined. Since this is an elevated meatball, I grabbed the elevated dog because she can eat off a fork and not drag her teeth on the fork. But she wanted to try a couple bites. And as you can see, how's it taste? Is it good? Oh, it's so good. All right, let's try. That's my doggy voice. Everybody has a doggy voice, and if you don't have a doggy voice, you're mean. Is it good? Oh, you want that? Oh, it's good. I always feed my dog at the table because if not, that would be rude. But she, as you can see, it's Josie approved. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Most importantly, click that subscribe button on YouTube. And again, thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode. And ciao.
Yeah.